Hi, my name is Miriam Levitt, and the topic I am choosing to talk about today is understanding the effects of isolation on mental health. And I'm going to be using my notes a lot because I am not comfortable doing video presentations. So, this topic is one that really hits close to home for me. It's also what I chose to write my research paper on. Firstly, I wanted to go over the importance of understanding this issue. Secondly, I'm going to share some of my own experiences surrounding the topic. And lastly, I'd like to mention some practical solutions. There are many reasons that make this such an important issue. The first one being is we all experience loneliness and isolation in one way or another, and we probably all know someone who is currently experiencing it to the point where their mental health is greatly affected. In this culture, it's become acceptable to be reclusive, to connect only through social media outlets, order our food and groceries to our doorsteps, and rely less and less on personal, real-life, face-to-face relationships. These things definitely have their place and can be extremely convenient, but life can quickly become imbalanced if not paid attention to, and loneliness can creep in silently with the less interactions we have. This can lead to depression, anxiety, and other serious complications. Sometimes we don't even realize that it's because of our isolation that we are experiencing these things. Alongside the mental health effects, physical health can be greatly impaired as well. One of the main people groups that can really suffer from mental health issues due to isolations are the marginalized and the elderly. There are a lot of people in this category that are suffering silently behind closed doors. It's important that we're aware that this is a prevalent and painful issue, and that it isn't always seen on the surface. Just being aware alone can make such a simple but big difference. I also wanted to talk a little bit about my own personal experience with this topic. Other than experiencing loneliness and isolation myself, as most of us have at one time or another, I grew up in a home that was very much acquainted with people who struggled greatly with isolation. My mom suffered with acute mental illness, which itself caused isolation. Although she was greatly debilitated by it, she was very much intentional about creating community for people that suffered in the same way she did. Because of this, along with my dad's work with the homeless population downtown at the time, our house and family became a hub for many isolated and marginalized people. I saw firsthand the profound effects that a single relationship can have on a person's life. In particular, I'd like to share about one person who was close to me. His name was Doug. Doug was living under a bridge downtown when my dad and his friend found him. He was extremely isolated with no friends and no relationships in town. We found him an apartment and quickly absorbed him into our family, as he was a one-of-a-kind special guy. I was 12 years old at the time, and we became good buddies. He visited every Sunday, and spent holidays with us. He became one of my favorite friends and people in life, and my sister and I cared for him in his later years up until his death a few years ago. He died with us by his side, still his only close friends in life. I share his story to illustrate the great power of friendship to change a life. This brings me to my last topic, which is about ways that we can be made aware and ways that we can reach out on behalf of ourselves and others who are experiencing loneliness and isolation. A good thing to be reminded of is that even though the research on the effects of isolation is great and the findings are significant, the solutions don't have to be large or complicated. A lot of times it only takes a single close relationship to combat it. It does, however, take intentionality to be aware and courageous enough to reach out when we see people who may need a friend. Also, being aware to recognize patterns in ourselves that might lead to isolation and seeking out outlets in the community and doing our best to weave a network that we can find strength in and that we can use to hold others up as well.